Other things that we didn't really touch on is just the value of relationship building that happens in groups like this. I was talking with Claire earlier this morning about how there's a theory about Washington, D.C., and when air travel became more common and people started coming back to their districts more often, the legislators in D.C. spent less time together, and so perhaps that contributed to the rise in partisanship. So I really have just found it valuable to spend time with them outside of our regular committees and work groups and things like that, as a way to sort of share some of the challenges that we all face as younger legislators.
I'll say this, regardless of whether or not we actually propose any legislation out of this caucus, I think what this caucus represents is that exact mindset that we can come together, we can discuss issues, and it will be a challenge. Look at this group, as you said, ideologically, we are diverse. So to try and come up with things that not only affect young people in the future, but also that we can come to consensus on will be a challenge. But the fact that we're in the room, talking to each other, building the relationships, in a time where we have been, I don't think we've ever been more divisive when it comes to political speak than we are now. So I think symbolically, if nothing else, this group is important to say, this is the direction we need to head. We need to come back to the table, sit down together in a very respectful and professional way and talk about serious issues. So
that's one interesting thing we've seen around the country is the future caucuses have often brought together not just folks who identify in the political center. It really is sometimes the most conservative and most liberal members of the legislature deciding they want to join this group. And for many of them, it's the first time they've ever joined a bipartisan group like this. And I think it just highlights the role that when you look at some of these issues more from a generational lens, you can bring unlikely partners and build unlikely coalitions. But I'm really grateful that all of you have said yes to this, despite how ideologically diverse you all are. And the relationships, one thing and you all know this, if you don't have a strong, trusting relationship with someone, it's hard to co-sponsor legislation. And that's what I think this provides, at a minimum, is that foundation of relationship building, and so many things legislatively can flow from that.
And with youth and inexperience can come an abundance of optimism.
That's right. That's right. Well said.
I think if I may say, what I think will end up defining this group is that this group of individuals, I feel like over the last couple of years here, has demonstrated that we look past the partisanship. Our generation, which we represent, I think most of us would agree here, when we talk to people of our age and younger, they're just sick of Washington, D.C. It doesn't matter which party you're talking about. People are tired of people just knifing each other as they try to crawl to the top of the pile of power. And so even though my good friend, and I mean that in the most sincere sense, my good friend Diego Hernandez and I, even though like on paper a lot of people would consider him and I to be political opposites, Diego and I agree on a lot of stuff. He was my most passionate, sincere advocate for a very important bill to me in 2017. It was House Democrats who came to this Republican's aid when it came to my legislation, and they were the difference between that bill being killed in committee, let alone getting over to the Senate floor. So, it's not sexy to talk about in the media, but the fact of the matter is when you look at our voting records, it's pretty much without exception, we agree on about 85% of the bills that come through. In many cases, 90+%. So there's a lot of common ground there. We've just got to fight through that desire for the negativity that our culture has really started to seemingly have an endless appetite for. But I think the younger generation is going to turn that around.